Burnout is the single biggest risk to artistic growth because you might have the best education in the world and it's not going to matter if you can't find the motivation to draw. And last week I was burnt out on the live stream. You're seeing some, I don't want to say burnout, but I don't know. But I know I'm not alone because I asked you guys to ask me questions, and by far the biggest response I got was about burnout, consistency, and motivation. So in this video, I'm going to share the 3 things I learned from books, artists, and personal experience that have helped me to stay consistent and avoid burnout over years of drawing. So the first and most important thing to know about burnout is that it is your body telling you that the way you're treating it is not working. Your brain is going on strike, it is not drawing anymore, and what it needs is some time off. So the most important thing you can do to prevent burnout or fix it is to take a break. Inspiration is not an infinite resource. It is a resource that gets replenished when you experience life. This is what Jake Parker calls the creative bank account. Every time you make an artwork, you're taking out of your creative bank account. And the way you replenish the bank account is by having experiences, by going outside, by looking at the flower petals fall off, or whatever poetic inspirational beauty you find in the world. The point is that you have to experience life in order for your art to have life. Brad Bird has a quote that goes, "Animation is the illusion of life, and you can't create life if you don't live it." So you have to step away from art in order to rebuild that inspiration to draw again. Inspiration is the jealous type. It only comes when you don't focus on it. This is why you always get shower thoughts, where your best ideas come when you're not thinking about ideas. And similarly, you need to do that with art. So what this looks like is abandoning art for a little bit. Literally do anything other than art. For me, this looks like having a bath, reading a book, playing a game, watching a movie. But don't fall for the trap of the dark playground. The dark playground is the idea that you take breaks because you know it's productive for you. That defeats the whole purpose of taking breaks. You can't try to be productive on your break, just have a break. So sometimes when I'm watching like an amazing movie like Spirited Away, I'll be like, oh my God, I want to draw that. I'll pick up my sketchbook and then I'll remember, no, take your break. Let the inspiration build up in you. Let it feel like it's slipping away, because this is how you invite it back into your life when you're trying to draw. Let's say you're not going to stop drawing. A break is out of the picture. The very least you could do is to stop studying and start playing. Burnout, as we mentioned, is your mind saying the way you're expressing creatively right now is not fulfilling and we do not want to partake. We're going on strike. We're not doing this. So what you have to do is expand the territory of your creative expression. I'm someone who struggles with this a lot because all I do is black and white drawings that are technically focused. And as a result, sometimes I find myself in a very narrow corner of what I'm able to draw. Rick Rubin has an amazing metaphor for inspiration called the river and the dam. This is from his book, The Creative Act. He treats inspiration as a river. It's flowing, it's abundant, literally consider it your stream of thought, right? Now, if you're a child and you haven't yet learned what styles of art exist, what standards you have to achieve, you will just create art. And kids can draw anything because their stream of inspiration is their stream of art. Every idea is an artwork. Every idea could become an expression of art. But as we get older and we learn these techniques and these standards, what we do is we build a dam around our artistic expression. All these ideas get filtered through a dam. On the other side is the artwork we make. Now, when you're out of ideas or you feel no motivation to draw, what's happened isn't that you lost ideas. Your filter has become far too narrow, and now ideas only trickle through. I think I have this pressure on myself to draw from imagination because that's what people are watching for. So what you have to do is to start exploring. Stop studying, start playing. By playing, you open up the dam slowly. And what this practically looks like is choosing to stop focusing on improvement and focus on exploration. Start doing things you usually wouldn't do. I never draw with a highlighter, but maybe instead of focusing on line and form, I'll focus on shapes and silhouette with this highlighter. And what this does is it expands my scope of what I think art is. And as a result, I'm able to milk out more inspiration from the world. Something else this could look like is to reject the fact that you need to produce a certain standard of output in order for you to feel good about your drawing. Stop going, today is a good drawing session if I drew 50 torsos or 100 heads or 10 heads. Stop focusing on the output. Focus purely on the enjoyment. It's a good day if you drew. And this gets to our third point, which is how do you do anything consistently, is you need to focus not on the ceiling of output, but the floor. And he calls this the minimum viable progress. What is the least you could do every day to feel good? So if you're feeling burned out, what is the least you could do every day to continue drawing? That's what's important. So, as I said, that looks like, instead of having a goal to draw 50 heads, just draw anything. Draw anything. Because what you want to train yourself to do is to not succumb to the idea of burnout. As we said, burnout is not a lack of motivation. It's a perceived lack of artistic options. When you choose to draw, even though you're feeling unmotivated, what you're doing is you're untraining the belief that a lack of motivation equals no drawings. On the live stream, I had to realize this in front of an audience of, oh, I don't feel like drawing at all right now.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine.
And I'm not liking any of these drawings, but that doesn't mean I can't draw. How I feel about my art does not mean that I can't just keep drawing. Hey guys, editing Tyrion here. Sorry to interrupt the video. I want to mention a contradiction between point 1 and 3. Point 1 saying take a break, and point 3 saying do the minimum you can every day. Point 3 is especially for students and aspiring professionals, because when you're doing art for someone else, you don't necessarily have the luxury to stop and only act when you feel inspired. So learning how to be creative even when you don't feel creative is an important skill. That being said, every artist needs to find the balance for themselves. You want to push yourself, but never push yourself so hard that you burn out. It's like at the gym. You want to work up a sweat, you want to challenge yourself, but if you challenge yourself so much that you tear a muscle, you just ruined all your progress. So think about what your limits are and find the balance between pushing yourself and going easy on yourself. Hope that clears things up. So those 3 things have really helped me to consistently output even though I'm not always motivated, and avoid burnout. Take breaks when you have to, focus on play instead of studying, and make the minimum viable progress to feel good about your art and stay consistent. Now, you guys asked a lot more questions, so I'm gonna go through some of these questions and see what we find out. If you enjoyed this video, please do let me know. And you guys are crazy because we're already at 55K, so thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.